Allison here from AllisonReeves.co, and welcome to the Wealth Within training. A lot of you guys will be watching the replay, and I'm going to kind of jump into it. I am launching my first new program for the first time in a few months, like probably at least 4 months. And I'm just really excited. The program, so today in the training, we're going to get into the framework. So like I do have something that I'm selling, but this training will be helpful whether or not you're interested in that. And then if some of this is piquing your interest, I would go look at Wealth Within. But today I just want to talk about what inspired the framework. I'm going to do it in kind of like a masterclass educational way, so you can actually get something from this, even if you don't buy anything. And then we'll go from there. So I launched a program at least 6 months ago, and it was a 21-day, it's called Dream Revival. And I thought about selling that again. That was my original plan for this launch, was to sell that again. And I thought, I feel like what I haven't done, so many of you have read my book and you know about the wealth wounds, but what I haven't done is like a specific training or course, paid course on the wealth wounds, and then working with those somatically, meaning through the body, through the nervous system, and then turning that into manifestation. So that is this 21-day challenge is really, really hyper-focused on those few things. So Wealth Within right now, it's $77. The price is going to go up at the end of the day tomorrow, which is why it was going to be on Monday. So today we're going to be talking about rewiring to receive. So like healing the wealth wounds and leveraging the nervous system. The goal of like the intention behind this 21-day challenge in Wealth Within and the framework I'm teaching you today is for the purpose of like rewiring your brain to receive. So what wealth wounds do, and I learned this especially recently, I spoke to a group of real estate investors, and wealth wounds, they hold us back from aligned action, thinking bigger. Your nervous system can hold you back from receiving when something good happens, when you make more money than you've ever made before. And so the purpose of dealing with the things we're going to be talking about today is rewiring your brain to receive more easily. So go ahead and comment in the chat for the people who are here live, like what is it that piqued your interest about the training today? And then I like to contextualize what I'm teaching for the people who are here. So I'm going to just kind of jump into it now, but while I am continuing to talk, if you can just comment that, and we will move on into the training. So the replay is nice and easy to watch. So today, we're going to be talking about rewiring to receive, shifting your energy, clearing blocks, and learning how to finally let it all in, the things that you're bringing in. We're going to be talking about three things today. Number one, why you can't manifest what you want. Number two, breaking down the wealth wounds a bit and how they're stopping you from receiving. And then number three, like what I feel like I haven't talked enough about is what to do with that information somatically so that you can manifest. So let's talk about why you can't manifest what you want yet. Like what is going on, or what are some of the things I see commonly, or people are like stuck in a cycle. Like what are the stuck points? So number one that I see a lot is that you're focused not on what you want, but on the gap. And this is like a very fine line when you have a goal, right? Because I'm saying a goal it's a goalpost, right? It's not here now, it's somewhere down the road. And so energetically, what can happen is instead of talking about what we want in a positive way, that we're moving towards it, we see the evidence that it's coming. It's really easy to get in a mindset where we're talking about the goal in a way that we're reaffirming that we don't have it. And this is just so easy to slip into. So like, for example, when I get clear on what I want, when I get clear on what I want to manifest, I can manifest really quickly. So when I finally decided, like, okay, I had this client, like an engineering client, and they were really difficult to work for, but they paid well, and it was very consistent, and there's a lot of need. And so I liked the stability of that, but they were very difficult to work for. And when I finally decided, like, okay, this is too hard and it's taking away too much from my own business. So I got on a call with a coach, and I made the decision that day. And then I decided I wanted to start reducing my hours with that company, find another client, and kind of coast for a little bit while I figured out what was next. As soon as I got clarity on that decision, I got another client. I got somebody who reached out to me that same day that replaced about 60% of that income that I was losing. But for goals, most of our goals are like a little bit further down the road. And so what we tend to do is we focus on the gap between what we have now and what we're moving to. So an example of this is like, I'm trying to figure out for scaling my own income, like, how do I want to do that? Because I'm like, I feel really good with where I'm at. It feels abundant. I have what I need. I have a little bit more than what I need. And I have not really like grown. So when I'm thinking about how I want to grow, I tend to get into the gap. So I'm getting into, okay, if I want more service clients, I need to market. I haven't been marketing. So, and I've been focusing a lot on the fact that I haven't been marketing. And that's me focusing on the gap. I'm like, if I'm going to get service clients, I need to figure out how to market. And then so then, when I talked to my accountability partner about this, like I had an opportunity last week. I'm not marketing myself very much at all right now, besides my email list, maybe once or twice a week. And then I'm doing a launch right now. So like I'm doing a little bit more, but I was like, thinking I really want to make a little bit more money. Like I let go of this big client and I'd like to close that gap a little bit more. I took no action to that end. And then I had somebody reach out to me that asked me to do like a big long-term opportunity. And I didn't do any marketing for that at all. And so we can set the intention and it can come really quickly. But for the things where I focus a lot on what I'm not doing, so like if I want more service clients, it's hard for me to like think about, I don't know an aligned way for me to market them right now. Anyway, so one big problem I see people making is you're focusing on the gap. Like when you have a goal, when you want something, instead of focusing on the gap, on what you don't have, you've got to focus on what you want instead. This is just very difficult. And it starts with your language, which will impact your beliefs. So instead of, in my example of like, I'd like more service-based clients and I'm focused on how much I'm not marketing, that's my focus. What I should be doing instead is focusing on the current service clients I have and how long I've had them. Because one of them I had for a year and 8 months, and then they're going to rehire me in a few months for something else. One of them I've had for almost 2 years, and that was after working with them for a year in the past. So I could put all my energy on like, wow, the service clients I've had for a really long time, instead of focusing on the fact that, and I also got both of those through like referrals, instead of focusing on what I'm not doing to market. Another example, I have a good friend who has they're a manifesting generator, and they're like very new to human design. So manifesting generators, they tend to popcorn around different opportunities. So if you don't know that you're a manifesting generator, then you're like, I'm a flake in my career. You can have judgments around it. People can have judgments around you for like, well, your resume is a lot. But if you know you're a manifesting generator, you know that's aligned for you, you can reframe the variety in your resume and say it in a positive light. So the way this person is talking about their work history is they're making all these excuses for why they popcorned to one thing or another. Whereas if they changed the way they were talking about it and saying like, they could reframe it in a more positive way, where like, I learned this, I moved on from this, and they could say it in a positive way. So that's the first biggest thing I see people doing. When you can't manifest what you want, make sure that you're not focused on the gap. Make sure that when you are talking about it, that you could apply this to relationships too. In relationships, we want to fix something. We talk a lot about what's wrong with the relationship, but you also have to land with gratitude and focusing on what you want instead. So it's very easy to just complain. Here's what I don't want. Here, I don't like this. 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 Just then, what do you want instead of that thing? You've got to put your energy not on the gap, but on what you want, on the goalpost. Another reason I see people not being able to manifest is they can't calm down or get neutral. And this, again, is like very, very difficult. So let's talk about like you're in a job that you hate and you want to, can be focusing on the gap too, but you're in a job that you hate, or you've got a client that you really don't like, but you really need that money. If you can't get neutral about the situation, it can be hard to find a new situation. So you have to, like when manifesting, it's really important to get neutral. So this relates more not to mindset. Like the first one's really about mindset and your language. This one relates more to somatics and the nervous system. This is a physical problem. When you're in a situation for a long time that's stressful, that you don't like, you have to be able to calm down and get neutral. Another reason why I see people not being able to manifest what they want is you can't decide what you want, or you're being unclear about what you want. So the same friend I have who is like, they paint their past work history in a negative light when they talk about it. Another reason why I think they're struggling to manifest is because they're not clear yet on what they want to do. This could be another problem for manifesting generators. I'm a manifesting generator, so I know I can be indecisive and do too many things at once and all that. So you can't manifest because you're focused on the gap. You can't calm down. You're not clear on what you want. You say, maybe I want this, maybe I want this, maybe I want this. My good friend Kate is like, she's been talking, she has so many ideas. She's a projector. So she just does a lot of research and she learns a bunch of things. She has so many ideas. And every time she talks to me, I'm like, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. But she's been having her time manifesting that for lots of reasons. And then she wouldn't mind me sharing this story. Recently, she was like, I want to do this thing. I'm going to do this thing. She finally got clear. And then it was like, go freaking do the thing. And then she did it and she's manifesting super rapidly because she's finally clear on what she wants. As soon as she got clear and took action, she started manifesting really quickly. And another thing I don't hear people talking about in manifesting that I think is helpful to mention, and I'm going to be talking about in Wealth Within, is like micro versus macro. So we have, and I think it's helpful, because sometimes we manifest things quickly and sometimes it takes longer to manifest something. So mentally, if I break down the things I'm looking for in this way, I can kind of set expectations. Not that we can't manifest really quickly. Like when I replaced 60% of that client income, I was thinking that was going to take some time and I got that within a day. So we can manifest big things quickly, big checks, big opportunities, etc. And there's also sometimes like small things I want to manifest. And I think it's helpful to be intentional about manifesting both small things and little and big things. So for example, big income goals are like macro. Me wanting my workout to go well is like micro. I think if we practice both, it can give us more confidence in manifesting and also right size expectations on manifesting. So that's kind of part one, why you can't manifest what you want yet. Part two is the wealth wounds and how these come into play. So for those of you who don't know, I've identified, this is art, not science, but there's 5 wealth wounds that I commonly talk about. There's scarcity, avoidance, worthiness, martyr, and I always forget scarcity, avoidance, worthiness, martyr. I always forget the 5th one, but there's 5 wealth wounds. And the one I forget is fear, one of the bigger ones. So 5 wealth wounds. A wealth wound is a bucket of limiting beliefs that relate to money and abundance. And you are going to probably experience all of them at some points. Some of you more than others, and some of you may not experience any of them at all. But in my experience, people usually experience all the wealth wounds to varying degrees, and you can shift in and out of which one is your most prominent wealth wound. And when your wealth changes, so will the wealth wounds that are the most prominent for you. So when I go and sit in a room of entrepreneurs like you guys, who I assume is here today, when I sit in a room of like online entrepreneurs, I know I'm dealing a lot. The 3 biggest ones are like scarcity, avoidance, and worthiness. So scarcity is like money doesn't grow on trees. Avoidance is like I get stressed out looking at my bank account. And worthiness is like I'm afraid to charge too much. When I was working with the real estate investors, it was more the martyrdom and the fear side of things. So in real estate investing, like that type of entrepreneurship is like a different energy and mentality. So most entrepreneurs, they're like fearful about expenses and investing and going big and looking at their numbers. Whereas real estate investors are more comfortable with that risk and looking at numbers and, taking calculated risks, but looking at those big numbers, they just have a different mentality and that is required of them for investing. But many of them become successful and then their martyrdom, like feeling guilty for having money or receiving judgment from their families for having money. Like that was more prominent in this room that I was in. And then also, I don't think there was as much fear either. I think, Yeah, martyrdom was like the main thing. They weren't dealing with scarcity in the same way. So those are the 5 core wealth wounds. And in Wealth Within, I want to just open your eyes and more to like how these could be playing into how you're making money or not. And then what I haven't done in any course very well is like, I've talked a lot about the wealth wounds and a lot about the antidotes, but I haven't talked a lot about like details in releasing those antidotes. And I even got feedback about that from the book. Was like people wished, or like one person who emailed me wished that I went into like a little more detail on the antidotes because it felt in the book like a little bit generic. And so in this course, I really want to go into more exercises on like what to do with each wealth wound and more details on what it looks like. So for example, the way that I talk about the worthiness wealth wound is I usually will just tell you the symptoms of the worthiness wealth wound. And then in the quiz, you can see like, oh yeah, I have symptoms of that. But when I reverse it and ask questions from like, what would you do if you got an unexpected check in the mail? How would you feel if you got an unexpected check in the mail for $10,000? And then dealing with that somatically, I think gives you more insight than saying like, here's the symptoms, here's the antidote, here's a journal prompt. So that's what I want to go more into. Part number 3 for today is how somatic safety relates to the frequency of enoughness. So what I want for Wealth Within and this today is for you to start thinking about how working through the wealth wounds can help you receive more easily. Like what is the energy of your body when you have the money? So one of the things I talk about a lot that I want to do more in this course, I have some meditations on this, is like resourcing yourself. So what does that mean? One of the exercises I do a lot with clients and that I want to bring into like the Telegram group that we're creating for Wealth Within is like figuring out what you need. So I had a client yesterday and she is trying to fill an event. She's doing her first event. And it's not very expensive. She'll probably she's not going to make a lot of money from it. She'll make some, but she's doing it really smart the way she's doing this event. So on the outside, like we planned this event really well. She's not at a lot of financial risk. She's at a place that's really flexible. So she's in a really good situation to start with, but she mentioned she was starting to feel like a desperate energy around it because she's only sold 2 spots and she wants 20 people there. So I'm like, well, this would be a good thing to do a somatic exercise on. So when we're trying to find out what the need is that needs to be addressed, and I'll tell you what we do with that need, we like feel into the feeling of, I feel desperate for people to come to this event. Okay, where do you feel that in your body? So you lean into the emotion, you feel it in your body. That sometimes takes some guidance. And then you ask yourself, what do I need? What does this need? And I always tell people, you've got to say the first word that comes to mind and just trust yourself. And in this situation, it was validation. She said, she opened her eyes and she kind of smiled and laughed like she didn't understand the answer. And like, you don't have to understand it. I'm going to guide you. Validation is the word that came to mind. That's what we're dealing with. So then we feel into, when was the time you felt validated? And then we feel the desperation and the validation at the same time. And then they start to neutralize each other. And that regulates your nervous system. So now, and then we were able to have another discussion after we dealt with the desperate energy where when she thinks about it, she actually has 4 attendees already. And I'm like, 20 people would be great, but are you at any kind of financial risk if just these 4 people come? No. Do you think you could have a great workshop if just these 4 people come? Yes. So now there's no reason to feel desperate energy, but we couldn't get to the logical side of that and release it until we got to the somatic side of it and figured out what she needed, which is validation. Now we can tap into, what does validation feel like? I'm already validated. Now that I have that need met, now I can do the actual mindset work because I'm not sitting here with a triggered unmet need. That's the kind of thing I want you to do with all of the wealth wounds, etc. So in Wealth Within, this is like the framework we'll be covering. So your homework from this training, from this video, is I want you to think about the 4 reasons I talked about for not being able to manifest. So these are like the 4 biggest problems I see with people who are not manifesting is they're focused on the gap. So instead of focusing on what you want, you're focused on the gap. This can be so insidious and so subtle. So I just want you to like spend time thinking about when you're talking about what you want, are you talking about it and framing it in a positive way? Or are you focusing on the fact that you don't have it and you want it? It's very important. Are you able to calm down and get neutral about your goals and the problems you have today? Are you clear on what you want? And can you start distinguishing micro versus macro, like tiny things you want versus big things that you want? And if you don't have both, maybe everything you're manifesting is like huge. Could you start practicing manifesting with some more micro things? I want this workout to go well. I want this date to go well. I want this meeting to go well. Like little things to build confidence on what it feels like in your body to manifest the bigger things. So that's what your main homework is, to think about what are those blockers you relate to. So I'm going to share a little bit more about Wealth Within. This is a 21-day experience in Telegram. So there will be videos for it like this one. They'll be unlisted. I mean, they won't be like this one. They'll be more detailed because they're paid. But, one of the things I was writing about on the sales page was one of the difficult things about like receiving was the desperation I had for someone to come and fix my situation. So this is a great example of like me being focused on the gap. Was this realization that no one was coming to save me, and I desperately wanted someone to save me. And that kind of radical responsibility was devastating, but became liberating, because when I learned how to meet my own needs, then when there were other people there to help me, it was all just extra credit. So my income grew over the hard work that I did that really started in 2022, but my capacity to hold and enjoy what I had created expanded exponentially. And it started with, like, I was at the lowest point in my career to that point. And instead of saying like, I'm at the lowest point, I want to be high again, I got into gratitude for where I was and what I had created. Even though it wasn't good in that moment, I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Like, I'm here, I've survived. And that's what I want you guys to be able to resource in this program. So what's inside of it? There's going to be 7 lessons. I'm going to have a new lesson every 3 days. It's 21 days. So number 1 is the holistic art of manifesting. So there's going to be some overlap to the holistic art of attraction, but it's going to be a brand new training. I haven't recorded that training in 2 years. So there's going to be updates, new information. I'm a totally different person than I was when I first recorded that. Lesson number 2 is going over the wealth wounds. So for some of you, that will be a review. But again, this is not like a replay of something else. It's a brand new training for you guys. Lesson number 3 is the antidotes. Lesson number 4 is what I haven't talked about enough, which is like really healing the wealth wounds. So tangible inner work, emotional rewiring, and mindset tools. Lesson 5 is like doing more with the somatic work. And then number 6 is like micro manifesting. And number 7 is macro manifesting. So like small shifts for big results, and then how we're scaling your bigger goals. So right now, Wealth Within is $77. It's going to go up by the end of the day tomorrow. At least 30% is going to go up. I haven't decided the price point, but as soon as I change it, it will be changed tomorrow, which is Wednesday. And that's all I have for the training for you guys. So I don't know if there's any questions. I can hang out for a second and see. I'm going to put the link to the course in the comments. And if I don't see any questions come in, I'll say 30 seconds. I'll just hang up here and send the replay out. Okay, that is the correct link. Yes, I will repeat the first 2 manifesting issues. Okay, so the first manifesting issue is you're too focused on the gap. The second one is you can't calm down or get neutral. So the first one is a mindset issue, and the second one is a nervous system issue. And then number 3, can't decide what you want. And number 4 is micro versus macro manifesting. Oh, I see. Sorry, the title on the page is wrong. And I was like, where is this title? And it's in the Yoast plugin. So I'm like updating this while I'm waiting. You are very welcome. Okay, that was a great question. I don't see any more, so I'm going to end here and we'll keep it short and sweet. Thank you guys so much for coming. I'll send out the replay and I'll see you guys around on the internet very soon. Okay, bye.